All right, fans, joining me now. I am joined by CBS 58 out of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He is Iron Mike Curkov. How you doing, Iron Mike?
Very good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. I'm excited about talking to you. You are my second news anchor that I've had on the podcast here, and so this is really cool.
Okay, who was the first?
Uh, he's out of I don't know where he first started at, but he was in OVW here in Louisville. He's with WDRB Gilbert Coursey.
Okay, nice.
Yes. So with Fox, and so yeah, really cool. So getting into this, when did you decide to get into the pro wrestling business?
Well, it almost started by accident. I did a few stories just because I found some interesting people, as you know, that there are in pro wrestling, and a lot of them have very compelling stories, and that's what I always look for when I'm as a reporter and anchor. I look for compelling stories and the stories I think people want to hear. I first learned about a guy named Ben Monty, Bulletproof Ben McCoy is his name. He was hit in the face by a sniper in Afghanistan, came back and he wrestled. Part of his PTSD recovery was pro wrestling, getting back into something that he loved and he felt comfortable with. He felt at home in. And I did a story with him, and that led me to meeting uh, Dave Hero and then Cal Hero, and seeing Cal, who had just left most all high school sports, and he was still in high school. He was going to be a pro wrestler, and you could see right then that he had something, even at 17 years old. And I did a story about Cal, and that turned out really well. Both of them did. And then Dave, his dad, who's a big promoter here in Wisconsin, uh, started feeding me names that were coming to town. Mick Foley is at OVW all the time. So he said, "You want to talk to Mick Foley?" Sure, of course, I'd love to interview him. So I interview him before he comes to the show, and then hopefully that drums up some support. And then eventually Dave said, "Do you want to wrestle? Do you want to try it?" And we've seen radio guys or whoever get in the ring and wrestle a little bit. Mostly they're pushing around, and
Mm-hmm.
they're just goofing. But I said, "Yeah, I do, but I want to train. I want to do it for real." And so I trained. I got a personal trainer. I trained really hard for 6 months. And then I trained in the ring a couple times a month, and a little bit more as we got closer and closer to my first match. And we had the match, and it was at Blizzard Brawl with 2,000 people in Waukesha, Wisconsin. My first match, my first time out there. And I'm sure every wrestler you talk to, is that when they walk out through that curtain for the first time, they're just hooked. You need that over and over and over again. And of course, the art of wrestling and my love of wrestling. I think I surprised a lot of people, including myself. It went really well. And then a couple months later, Dave said, "You want to do it again?" All of a sudden, I'm tag team champions with Al Snow in Great Lakes Championship Wrestling. And then I defend it once, and then we lose it a month later. Now I've got 4 matches under my belt, and it just kept going and going. And we're 3 years in, and I love it. It's amazing.
I love that it was just like a happenstance and it kind of just fell, into your lap for lesser or better way, unbetter way of saying it, I guess. But yeah, no, that's really cool how that happened for you, and I love that you didn't want it to be just a one off thing. That it was you took it seriously, and not like you said, not that other people don't if it's a one off thing, but I like that you actually had the passion to pursue it. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of like called experiential journalism. So
Yeah.
I was doing a story on it, so I really wanted to know what that was like, what it felt to be a pro wrestler, so I could use the skills that I've been developing throughout my career to tell that story to our viewers. And so I wanted to do it for real, and I did. And I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, this news guy is going to wrestle," and then when they were done, like, "Oh, that was pretty good." And that the crowd was behind me, and that was really cool. Um, you said kind of it's falling in, and I did kind of fall into it, but after 30 years of loving wrestling, like it was something I was prepared for. If I fell
Yeah.
into trying ballet, I wasn't going to succeed at that. I had
Right.
been spending my whole life watching that and knowing what I would do if I ever had the chance.
Right on. Right on. Yeah. And that kind of leads into my next question. So, with growing up watching wrestling and everything like that, who were some of your inspirations that you enjoyed watching growing up?
Well, I was Iron Mike in my backyard wrestling league. I've done the stunner my finishing move for 25 years now. So like I was always been a Stone Cold Steve Austin guy. I never really watched it when I was real little. I never really I of course I knew who Hogan was, but I never really really watched it until the show after Steve Austin hit Vince McMahon with the bedpan uh,
Yes.
at the hospital. That was my friend told me about that. I was like, all right, I'm gonna try watching it for real now. And I watched it nonstop every night that it was on for years. My friends and I would all remember you have to go get that cable box from the cable store and rent it for the day and then hook it up and get the pay-per-view. You know, we all gathered and did that. We rotated people's houses and we just loved it for a long time. So yeah, it was Stone Cold, it was The Rock, and Kurt Angle. I really loved Kurt Angle.
That's a great combination right
Mhm.
there. Stone Cold Rock and Kurt Angle. Wow. Oh yeah. My dad was the one who got me into wrestling, and so he really loves Stone Cold, and so I like that. That's really cool. Um, who were you trained by? Who was your trainer when you got that training?
So it was a combination of Angel Armani, Cal Hero was in the ring with me almost every time, and a couple other local guys here in Wisconsin that were training with me. But it was in Bruce City Wrestling's ring in Cudahy or South Milwaukee here, and then every time since then, it's been well, one of the coolest things. It's been the wrestling community has been so welcoming, and so I haven't trained like they've trained. I didn't go through this intense course. I trained as much as I needed to know for my first match, and then I trained as much as I needed to know for my next match. And over the course of 3 years doing that, it's been pretty good. And everyone's been so. I think maybe because I've been so. I've tried to be extremely respectful of what they do and been a great listener, which is the best quality of a journalist is being a great listener. Been a great listener and trying to do what they're teaching me. That everybody, TW3, Backwoods Brown, there's so many people have been coming in to help me. They'll jump in the ring. I mean, Adam Scherr, when he was out of WWE, he saw me training a little bit. He jumped in there. Like people just they're just so happy and eager to help, and it's been amazing.
Yes, that's really really awesome. I love that you've had Cal Hero had a hand in that and training you and just you never stop learning. That's the old saying. You never stop learning. You're essentially always training. And never stopping to learn, and you continually learn and train. So that's really cool. Your first match experience. What was that like? I know everyone's like you said, everyone's first experience is usually like you might get the butterflies. You get the people always talk about adrenaline when hearing the roar of the crowd. What
Yeah.
was that experience like for you?
So my first match was me and the Gun Club, Austin and Colton Gunn, against Kevin Thorne and the Express, local tag team champions here in Wisconsin, and it was amazing. I mean, it was incredible. The crowd was super into it. The Guns were doing everything they could to get me over, and they sure did. And it was that adrenaline when you come out and when you really feel you have all of your teammates working together on both sides of both tag teams. When everyone together really has the crowd in the palm of their hands, and we're all just working it. And even from the first match, like I could tell that this was one of the best feelings, one of the best things I could do. And I thought that might have been the end of it, but I was very thankful that there were going to be a lot more opportunities to follow.
That's really awesome. I love it. Sticking with matches. So this is a question I ask everyone that comes on the show. So if you could pick three matches as your top favorites that you've had thus far in wrestling, what would be your top three?
Well, the first one is in there. I don't know if let's figure out the order in a second. And then a year later, it was a singles match. Kevin Thorne and I,
Mhm.
we kept this going, kept this feud going. My first title defense, he came out and choke slammed me, and so we won. We won by DQ. And then he came out and started trash talking me. I got nominated for an Emmy for the story I did on that first one. So he came out and he started trash talking me because he had already won an Emmy. or someone did a story on him, and that reporter won the Emmy. So he came out and started trash talking me. My mom was there, and I got in his face, and he got in mine, and he choke slammed me again, and I had to be helped out of the ring, and my mom was just horrified. So that's that great year-long setup between the match, me versus Kevin Thorne, and the expressive and kicked out of GLCW, so they weren't even supposed to be there, but what do you know, they were. And then Billy Gunn came out, and I'm scissoring with Billy Gunn in the middle of the ring in front of 2,000 people. It's just, it's unbelievable. It's incredible. So that's one of the top three, or two. There's two of the top three right there. And then let's see. Gosh, I mean, I've been so lucky. I've had matches against EC3 and Luke Curtis. I've had matches against. I've been in three Royal Rumble or three Battle Royals. The first one was memorable, but the second two I won, and including I did my first Lion Salt. Let's put that one in there. The Brady Street Festival, Casablanca Rumble, when I did my first Lion Salt.
Love it, love it. And that one of those battle royals I want to talk about here in a little bit, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that a little bit later. So how do you find the time to balance being a news reporter, anchor, and then also wrestling as well?
It's funny. I mean, there are shows we have on a Friday night where I'm up at 1:30 in the morning. I'm at my work by 2:30, 2:45, anchor the newscast for 4.5 hours, or 3.5 now. Get a little nap in, and then go wrestle. I mean, you just do. If you are passionate about something, you just do. Wait, I need to go back. I had 3 matches with Al Snow, like on my team. Those 3 are all in there too. There's my top 6.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. But yeah, and that's another thing we'll get to a little bit later. You actually became tag team champions with Al Snow, so we'll talk about that match a little bit later.
Yep.
But yeah, that's cool that you can balance both. Being a news reporter, news anchor, and then also wrestling. I have to say you're passionate about both, correct?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And if I ever lost any of that passion for the news anchoring, I would probably not be allowed to wrestle anymore, because I had to get permission from my station, and a lot of stations would not give that permission. So I'm thankful CBS 58 allowed me to pursue something that it helps the station too. We're drawing in an audience right there. I met a woman today named Judy, and she said, "Oh, I watched you this morning. Oh my gosh, how's wrestling going?" That's what everyone wants to talk about. So there's any way that you can find to connect with your audience in whichever side of this is a great way to very important. That's how you get them. That's how you sell them. That's how you get them.
So true. Now prior to training, did you look at doing anything like commentary? Did you look at because a lot of people, they come in from a news background, radio background, television, or something like that. They will go into commentary with wrestling, or try doing the ring announcing or something.
Yeah.
Was there any thought of maybe trying that?
Yeah, I mean, I started as a sports reporter and doing play-by-play for high school football and baseball and basketball and hockey, and so I was familiar in that arena as well. And I did get to ring announce for one show in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, that Ric Flair was at, but that's only because lovely Linda Kay was wrestling. Otherwise, we've got Linda Kay in Wisconsin. She lives here. She's in Milwaukee, so we got Linda, so we're good.
Shout out to Linda Kay, by the way. When I told her that I would be interviewing you, she was. I talked to her last Thursday at OVW. She was like, "Oh, really? That's really awesome that you're going to be interviewing Mike." So I was like, "Yeah, that's." I had to mention that. I had to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, Linda. Those first times training, Linda was training with me, so we had our first match at the same show.
Wow!
My first match, yeah.
Wow, that's so awesome. Yeah, shout out to Linda Kay. Yeah. And then. So, how in any ways has your background as a news reporter, news anchor, how has that helped you as far as character wise, promo, and then getting yourself over with the crowd?
Well, first off, I mean, I have a leg up just because I haven't really wrestled outside of my viewing area yet. We have a big viewing area from Sheboygan, Wisconsin to Kenosha to the Illinois border, and then pretty far west. About 40 minutes from Madison, Wisconsin. So people already know who I am. or at least the theory is they should already know, even if they've only seen a commercial or something and they don't actually watch, and they watch a different station, and that's totally fine. They at least know that I'm available to them every single morning. So I obviously have a leg up right there. If wrestling fans wanted to, they could be with me for 3 hours every morning, or whatever their morning routine allows them to. So that's one that helped me get over almost right away. That was the easy part, and perhaps that's a little bit cheating on my part, but I built that up over 8 years too. So and then as far as taking the mic, I've done 2, 3 promos maybe, and that came the easiest to me. I mean, that's what I do every morning. I wouldn't say I cut promos, but I'm out there ad libbing and riffing off of my co-anchors. So that part came easy to me. And then wrestling, just a match, the storytelling of a match. That's, as I was learning and being trained, that's the part that I didn't entirely know, I guess, just coming from a fan's perspective. But the way a story is told in the ring and the way a story is told on a newscast or in a story that I do, it's not that different. You've got to make the viewer or the crowd care about the people in the story. And as a journalist, you don't make them feel a certain way. You just present the facts, and they will feel however they feel about it.
Right.
So in the wrestling ring, you try a little harder to impose your will, what you want the audience to feel. But you still present the character, whether it's I'm doing the last story I did was about a woman that makes hoof shoes, like for people that want to wear hooves on their feet. And so I tell her story and how compelling that is, and people will like, oh, what are those? And then you hear her talk about it, like, oh, I kind of like those. I kind of like her. And that's kind of the same thing you do in the ring. Not entirely, obviously, but storytelling similarities are another thing that hooked me with pro wrestling.
Definitely. I like that you talk about the different answers there. Because you kind of have to, and the similarities, because you have to have people hooked to a story you're telling in wrestling.
Yeah.
And you got to get them connected. If they're not connected, they're going to be twittering or tweeting on their phone or Facebooking their friend during a show. If they're watching on TV, even.
I'll change the channel. I can't have that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Can't have
you have to have that TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You have to have that character development and character. You have to get your story over, get yourself over. You have to tell that story.
Exactly.
For sure. How would you describe who Iron Mike Curkov is to someone who has not seen you in the ring?
I am a news anchor. Iron Mike Curkov in the ring is a news anchor that is trying pro wrestling, that got to do his dream, and you, the fan or the viewer, can live vicariously through me. Like, imagine if you got that opportunity, what would you do with it? That's kind of the elevated Iron Mike that I'm playing. And a lot of people will trash talk the reporter, in the ring, like Coda Jacobs. He'll do a lot of trash talking as the politician, yelling at the reporter, and then we go at each other for that. But in the ring, I'm just really an elevated version of myself, and I'm not supposed to be a superstar heavyweight fighter or a luchador or anything. I'm a news anchor that's wrestling, and that's what I'm trying to be.
Very well. I think you sold yourself really well right there, because I like that description of yourself. Yeah, if I was someone that just not watching, or if I was just listening, even because we do video and audio.
Mm-hmm.
If I was just listening to this and hearing you describe yourself like that, I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna go watch one of his matches. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
So very well put way of selling yourself. How would you describe your in-ring style?
Let's see. Stone Cold, as much as I can be. Iron Mike, Stone Cold. Again, just like a guy that's trying to survive, I guess is the style that I'm going for. Trying to do a couple of moves that I've seen on TV or seen people at the show do, and just trying to survive. That's the guy I'm trying to play.
There you go. Who have been some of your favorite people to work with in the wrestling business? Yeah, just like some people you've had matches with, just people you enjoy working with.
I've done a lot of matches with the Express, Ryan Cross and Jeff Luxon. They've been a lot of fun, and they are the ones that had the most matches with me at the beginning. So I have a special spot in my heart for them for um, letting me in, letting me and carrying me through those early matches. Kevin Thorne has been amazing. Obviously, he did a great job working. We did a great job working together. I I mean, the list is so long. Cal has been on my team quite a few times, and we always have great chemistry together. Al Snow has been amazing. Al Snow has been just a fountain of information and fantastic stories. I can sit there and listen to him all day long, and plenty of people do, and I do too. Um, Doug Basham I worked with. I did a seminar with him, and then I had a match against him. uh, I was supposed to do a drop kick, and I did not get high enough, and I looked like Liu Kang or Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat doing a jump kick, and I got right below the belt. And sorry, Doug.
I love that. That's funny.
And TW3, I've had a few matches with. He's been fun to train alongside. The match with Joey Avalon was a lot of fun. EC3 and Luke Curtis, that match was a lot of fun. Gosh, I can't even tell you someone I did not enjoy working with. I mean, just working with Aldo, that's where I learned the most.
Definitely. You can't go wrong with Al Snow or Doug Basham for that matter.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Iron Mike Curkov. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name. I don't mean to do that. But how did you decide to call yourself your moniker the Iron?
Well, I grew up in the Chicago suburbs originally, and so Mike Ditka, in the '85 Bears. That's all. And still, anyone talks about in Chicago. That's the only thing that can ever win. But so Iron Mike, Mike Tyson, Iron Mike, and later I found out that if you ever see a military statue of a guy going, "Come on, let's go," that's called an Iron Mike, and so that's even more special, especially as I do some of these veterans outreach events that I've been doing, both giving away homes to a veteran family in need, a wounded veteran, and also we did Burlington Brawl last year, which was for Veterans Outreach of Wisconsin, which was cool.
I love that. You learn something every day. I love that.
Yeah.
I've never known that about the pose you sold. I've never known that. How did working with Great Lake Championship Wrestling and promoter David Hero come to be?
So yeah, that started just I reached out to Cal on his wrestling social media and hooked up with Dave that way, and I interviewed Dave just because I wanted to do a story, just like I'm working on a story right now, and I reach out to people that can help me tell that story about the show called The Bowling Game, which was a nightly bowling show in Milwaukee for 25 years. Anyway, but so like I needed to find some people that were on it, so I did. Just like needed to find people with Cal Hero, and I found Cal and Dave, and Rikishi happened to be there the day we were shooting that, which is kind of cool. And we've become good friends since then, and Dave's been a great mentor to me as far as wrestling, but not just wrestling, but life too, and being a dad and all that.
Definitely. Shout out to Dave Hero. What was it like to work the 6-man tag match between you had your partners Cal Hero and the legendary former WWE star Al Snow and owner of OVW versus Drew Hernandez, Backwoods Brown, and then another legend former WWE star Doug Basham. What was that match like?
Oh, that match was a lot of fun. Obviously, the other 5 guys in that match are really good and extremely talented, and a couple of them are legends. And Backwoods Brown, a legend in Wisconsin, he was champion here for like 1,500 days or something, and he's a guy that had helped work with me in the ring quite a bit, and like there was no real reason we were ever going to actually wrestle the match until this match popped up, and that was a whole lot of fun to work on. I told you the story about the drop kick that was not really a drop kick, more of a low jump kick, which was fun. And Al and Doug were ribbing me the whole day leading up to that match, like showing me this this move where I get flipped up into a power bomb, and the other guy catches me and throws me. He's like, yeah, but we just won't let you land on your head. It's no big deal. And right away, I was like, yeah, right. There is no way. There is no way you guys are going to do that. And uh, they kept saying they kept saying it was happening, but I knew that was never going to happen. But anyway, it was a whole lot of fun. And they kept telling me, be aggressive, be aggressive. Don't just look weak. You got to fight back. And so my first time I got tagged in, I shot out and attacked everyone, and I think they were surprised and like, okay, let's go. And we had some fun. It was great. Again, every time you're in the ring with people like that, you learn something. You learn a lot.
Definitely, definitely. That was a great 6 man tag right there. Just going back and watching it. Um, do you have any favorite news stories? Jumping over to the news side of things, do you have any favorite news stories you've covered?
Yeah, I mean, I just won my first Emmy last year, which after 17 and a half years in news, it took a long time. Was nominated for a few, and so I was very proud of that. It was a story about why people use subtitles more often when they're watching TV these days. Like if you're watching Netflix or something, if you're watching wrestlers on Netflix, do you have the subtitles on? Yeah, I need them because I can't. I got the kids and I can't really hear out of this ear too much, and I don't want to miss anything. And so it has to do with technology. So that was a fun story to do. And also last year I did a story about AI, and I had Chat GPT. I just said write a song about Milwaukee, and it wrote lyrics and chords, and I gave it to a band, like a metal band, like a hard rock metal band, and then to a blues singer, and they both took the same lyrics, the same chords, and they both made something totally different. And it was really neat to watch their process and kind of get their thoughts about AI music writing, and then, but also the stories that I love to tell the most are just unique people, what makes them special, what makes we have the show called CBS 58 Sunday Morning where we highlight the people and places that make Southeast Wisconsin great is the elevator pitch. I did this story on, okay, this guy was great. So he had this tweet that went viral. I think it was a tweet, and he got his driver's license photo with half of his face shaved and the other half clean, or other half a beard and the other half clean. And I was like, I'd like to know more about this guy. So I look him up. Guy's got a PhD in education.
Wow.
This guy went to Harvard, MIT. He got a doctorate from UW-Madison, and he's an experimental noise musician, which means he would take like a bunch of chains, like junkyard dog chains, and put them in his mouth and go blah, and record. And talking to him, and telling his story and conveying it in a way that a regular news viewer might think, okay, well, maybe I guess that is music. That was probably one of my favorite stories to tell, and I've done a few like that, and those are always my favorite.
I love that. I love to hear different people's stories, and that's what I like about doing my podcast here. I love to hear everyone's stories, and so I like um, to hear about like what you was talking about with hearing people's personal story. I love that. Um, what would be the news piece or story that you have worked on that you are most proud of?
I'd say it was probably that story I was just talking about, the experimental noise musician Peter Woods. I won an award for writing for that story in the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association, and I was just proud of the way I structured that story, and I found that story on my own because I was curious about something. Which, when we talk about advice for journalism, if you want to, that being curious is number one. And I just kind of like, oh, this guy's pretty weird, right? But is he? And you're like, well, I guess maybe he's not that weird. And I say, well, hold on, this is even weirder. And then we go like, oh, I guess that's not that weird. One more time, it's even weirder than that. So I was proud of the way that story was structured. And but then I've done lots of fun things. Like I've been to the Super Bowl 2 times to cover it, and March Madness and Stanley Cup playoffs when I was a sports reporter, and the Frozen Four and the World Series. I once rode a giant slide at the Wisconsin State Fair 58 times in a row without stopping on live TV.
Wow.
that was a pretty fun day.
That sounds very fun. All of it does. Um, is there a fellow journalist, news anchor, reporter out there that you personally would like to see get into the ring, or for fun have a wrestling match with?
Um, I mean, there's plenty that I would like to get in the ring with, just not for fun. That's another story. We don't go there. Um, you know, there is a for 2 years, 2.5 years, almost 3 years. As far as I knew, I was the only anchor wrestler in the world, as far as I knew. And then last December, a guy named uh, Brandon Hudson, I think is his name, in Detroit. He did it was basically the same story, basically the same. He got into it the same way. He was wearing almost the same gear as me too, and he
Oh,
went
wow.
in and wrestled a match. And so, if there's anyone, I think that would be a fun Milwaukee versus Detroit, Iron Mike versus Brandon. It'd be fun.
I'd like to see that for real. Yeah,
Wow.
that'd be pretty cool. um, what does it mean to you to be a former GLCW tag team champion along with Al Snow?
I mean, what an incredible honor that was. The trust that Dave had in me to put the belts on me, to do it with Al Snow. It was I like it was my second match, and my title reign was only a month, but it was still a blast. I got to wear it. I won it on a Sunday afternoon, and I had it with me on the set the next morning on the newscast. And then Al came in for a live interview later on that morning. I got to bring it with me to the 4th of July parade, and so I had my CBS 58 shirt and the belt. I brought it with me to Little League, and all the kids, both teams, everyone wanted to take a picture with it. So that month was pretty fun. That belt went a lot of places with me, and I'll always be grateful for that opportunity. If it never comes again, that's fine. I got it once. If it comes again, I'll be equally as grateful.
There you go. That's very cool. I love even for just a month.
Yeah.
That's still really cool. Very cool. What did it mean to you to win? This is one of the battle royals. What did it mean to you to win the One Fall Entertainment Battle Royal and win the Cancer Cup at an event that raised $13,000 for families battling cancer in the local area and the Pink Hills?
Yeah, that's this trophy right there. That's the OFE Cancer Cup,
Oh wow!
well, not in the flesh, and whatever that is uh, behind me. It was again an amazing opportunity, an amazing reflection on the work that probably not really in the ring, if I'm being honest, but the work that I do with the community and with CBS 58, and it was a great honor. It was awesome working with a lot of those wrestlers, especially at the end with the stunner on the apron to finish off uh, my opponent there. And I gave that cup to his mom, to Ruthie's mom, and because she had cancer, and he didn't know that was going to happen, and it was an emotional moment, and it was really neat. And then they had another one. Eric Tyler had another one. He's like, you know what? You selflessly gave that away without a second thought, and we've got another one for you. And that was really cool. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was a fun night.
That's very cool, and I love I love first of all, I love wrestling shows that give back to the community, and shows that whether it's a benefit show for something or to raise money for a cause. I love shows like that, and then just to for wrestling fans, and the wrestling community, they will come together and rally around causes like whether it be for raising funds for something like diabetes or cancer or something like that.
Yeah.
They will come around it like no other,
Hmm.
and support it for sure. So
That
that's
battle
really cool.
royal was just one of the matches on the card. It was a great card, a lot of fun matches, and I'm almost positive everyone in that battle royal donated their money back to the cause, which was great.
That is awesome. I
Yeah.
love that. Um, who would be your dream opponent? What type of match would it be? And where would you like the location or venue to be?
Let's see. with no limitations, I would love for it to be against Kurt Angle. Obviously, that can't happen. I would love for it to be at one of the big spots here in Milwaukee at Panther Arena, which is the place where Austin 316 was born, or at Pfizer Forum or something like that. That'd be really cool. But more realistically, facing somebody around here, I would love. Gosh, I would love for it to be a title shot, win or lose, and I wouldn't say I'd want a hardcore match, but I'd want like a real a match with some real wrestling in it, just to like prove what I've learned, what I know I can do. I mean, it may sound super boring, but some chain wrestling, like that wasn't easy to learn, and I think I can do it, and I think I could help put on a show like that. And in the TWF, which was my backyard wrestling ring, we would buy these garbage cans, these steel or probably aluminum garbage cans from Handy Andy or maybe Menards. They were only $8. So this was in like 2000. They were $8, and we would hit each other so hard with it, and like they would collapse. So it was fine. I mean, it hurt. You're still going to hit in the face with a garbage can, but like I could still take that. I'd like to take one of those again.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
That'd be really, really cool. And seeing you versus Kurt Angle, that'd be really, really awesome.
Yeah.
And then that arena where it happened for Stone Cold and everything, that'd be really awesome.
Amazing. But locally, if versus somehow we contrived that was me versus Cal Hero, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be a good way to end things even.
Definitely. And I'm sure that can happen at some point for sure.
Yeah, well, one of us would have to turn heel, and I don't think that's going to happen.
I'd probably be like calling into the news. We don't want to see Iron Mike anymore.
Yes, exactly.
Put him on the nightly news.
Yeah. That would be fun, though. I mean, if I really wanted to go down in a blaze of glory and do a heel turn on the air, that'd be a lot of fun.
That would be very cool. Now, who are some people you would like to have a match with within 2024?
Let's see, in the next year. Gosh, I don't know. Like I try not to hope or really think about what's going to come or what I should do or what I should get or things like that. I'm really just like letting it all come to me, letting the story come to me, letting it be as natural as possible, and just like completely trusting in Dave Hero to the point where I haven't even thought about something like that. In 2024, I think that would make sense for what I'm doing right now. It would almost certainly be a tag match, so it would be fun to go up against some classic. But I already got up against EC3 and Luke Kurtz. Like, that was super fun, and I got to go against the Express. I got to go in that match against Drew Hernandez, Doug Basham, and Backwoods. Like, I've not been able to do a lot of really cool stuff, and I guess I'm just excited for the unknown of what's going to happen next.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer for real. What is the best piece of advice you have been given both in news and in wrestling?
Well, let's start with in news, because I kind of alluded to that. The best piece of advice is to be curious, to look at the world around you. And if you think that over there is interesting, go find out about it. Go ask. Maybe it's not, but maybe it's super interesting. And if you think it's interesting, you're probably not the first person to think it's interesting. And the other person wasn't a journalist, so they didn't know that they could just go ask and they could find out. So you ask, you find out, you tell them. A great example of that for me in my career was my wife's family had a townhouse, a condo in Lake Geneva, which was about 90 minutes, almost 2 hours south of us, this little resort town. And on the way there, we go through a lot of farm community, and we would always see this old barn with a basketball hoop sticking out of it. And I was like, what the heck? What's going on there? What happened? We would drive by over and over again. One day I just pulled over and I went and asked. And it's a 100-year-old barn. They put it up during COVID because the gyms were closed, and their kid was he was super tall, and he was like really talented at basketball. They didn't have a place to play. He was in 8th grade, I think, and so they put up this hoop in this old barn with the roof destroyed, and just playing there, and it looks so cool, and it was cool. And I did that story. I got my first writing award for that one. And so it was just being curious about that noise musician. Why is that guy got half his face shaved? You know, who is this guy? And asking questions like that has led down so many wonderful roads in my career. Um, and then one that kind of goes with both is just kind of like listening and learning, not and admitting that you don't know everything, and that's just how you find out a lot. That's how you start to know a lot of things. And so, you just watch what other people do, and news, especially if it's not in your market. If I watch a cool story in New Mexico, I can just basically do the same thing here with a lot of the same ideas. That kind of the same thing in wrestling. I was watching before my match with Kevin Thorne. I was watching a WrestleMania, and I saw this move Shawn Michaels did on The Undertaker. And I was like, okay, I'm not Shawn Michaels, but that specific move, I can do that one, do a little tribute. And we did, and it worked out pretty good. And it was just a flying forearm, a flying burrito, but it looked good. It worked out. And I've done it quite a bit since then. And so just kind of pay attention to the stuff around you and learn from it, learn from everything. And that goes for journalism and for wrestling.
Love it, love it. Both pieces of advice are really, really good pieces of advice. Any plans to branch outside of Wisconsin and wrestle in other states, and possibly make a trip maybe down to OVW?
I've always wanted to go to OVW just to like go. The shows around it would have to be one of the pay-per-views on a Saturday night, because or I would have to take some time off work. But even so, like right now with baseball season, I coach baseball and then we'll coach football for my kids, and it's so hard for me to get down there. But to wrestle down there, I would love to train for a week down there and just learn from everybody as intensely and as hard as I can. But I'm a Milwaukee news anchor, so if I go to Chicago, even though I'm from the area, or if I, even better, say I went to Denver, would they care if I'm the Milwaukee news anchor? Would they give me the room to make some mistakes and not be perfect that they do here in Milwaukee, because I'm their guy? They watch me like they're part of my family, and that they're cheering for me because we work together every morning. Would I get that if I went somewhere else? I'm not really sure. So I don't really have concrete plans to do that, but if someone offered and it seemed like a good idea, I'd give it a shot for sure. See what happens, you never know.
Definitely, for sure. Great answer. Any upcoming shows or appearances you would like to promote?
Yeah. So if you come to Milwaukee, or even if you don't, we stream our morning newscast every morning on CBS58.com. It's every weekday morning from 4:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. If you're in Milwaukee, it's 4:30 to 7 on CBS 58, and then we switch to another channel, WMLW from 7 to 8 a.m. So that's every single weekday morning. We have a great show on Sunday mornings too, called CBS 58 Sunday Morning, which is a copy of the CBS Sunday Morning, like a local version of that great national show. And they do a lot of work on there. And then wrestling-wise, coming up June 9th at Rumble by the River 3, my third time there at that show. It's at the Thiensville Lion Fest on June 9th. That's a free show. On July 13th, the Ashipan Firemen's Picnic. That'd be my third time there as well. Fourth time there total. I was there the first year. One year I saw Val Venus wrestle there. It was also a lot of fun. I'm doing it. I have a match that day, and then the next week at Brady Street Festival at the Casablanca Rumble, I'll be there as well. So those are the 3 slots on my summer schedule so far. Hopefully a lot more comes up to that, but I would just please check out my stuff on YouTube and Instagram, and like and share, and I always appreciate that stuff. And you'll see a lot of the work that I've been talking about.
Definitely. Fans, if you're out there listening, watching, I want to encourage you, go and get out to these shows. Go and see Iron Mike in action. Go and watch him on the news as well. Check out CBS 58 if you're in the Milwaukee area or surrounding area. And yeah, for sure, go give them support. Go give support wrestling in general wherever you live at, and get out in Milwaukee. Get out to the shows. Get out to the shows and surrounding areas as well.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just go to a show. Go to any show. buy some merch, support your local wrestler. Everyone works so hard and they sacrifice so much, and they deserve it.
Definitely. How can fans find you on social media?
It's just Mike Curkov, Mike CBS 58 Mike Curkov on Facebook. I'm active there. Just Mike at Mike Curkov on Instagram. Very active there. A little bit less active on X these days, but it's at Mike Curkov there as well. TikTok as well, also at Mike Curkov. I'm mostly just a looky loo on TikTok. I like right now. I get a lot of old wrestling matches and clips from shows they've already seen. And the algorithm knows me. What are you gonna do?
Fans go follow him on all of his social media as well. And then, how can promoters contact you if they would like to get you on their next show?
Exact same way. Any of those avenues would be perfect. Instagram is probably the one I'm on the most. So send me a DM or comment on a Facebook post or send me a Facebook message on the CBS 58 page. I'd love to talk about it.
Promoters out there listening, go and book Iron Mike Curkov on your next show and go bring him in for an appearance or just have a match. Get him for a match and have him on your next show. Definitely worth your while and worth your money as well. Iron Mike, I'd like to again thank you for coming on the Final Count, and you're welcome to come back anytime, sir.
I'd love to. Thank you for having me.
Thank you as well.